You might not like League of Legends or anime, but Arcane Season 2 is out right now, and the title sequence is featuring some amazing studio-like shots. Today, I'm gonna try and replicate one of them. Might be the simplest one of the bunch, but it still has some really interesting details. Of course, not doing this just to copy the image, I'm doing it because I'm pretty sure I'm gonna learn a thing or two along the way. So let's start by doing a bit of a light break. The first obvious light source is over here. I'm gonna use a strong light for this one. And this is going to provide me with the rim light over the hair and the edge of the face. In my case, it's gonna be more like edge of the beard, but whatever. Next up, a big softer panel in front of the face, and I'm gonna use this one at the lower part to illuminate the face. And most probably I'm going to need a big fill panel over here to reflect some of the light back into this side of the face, so this doesn't go in complete darkness. Also notice the highlights over here and in the hairs right here. They might come from the source number 1, but I'm gonna use a third light behind the curtain over here that's going to provide the second edge light over there. And there's one more detail that I want to showcase. If we zoom in, we can see a bit of a catch light over here. And that's a bit more difficult to achieve. I'll probably need a tube light around here for it to provide the catch light, and I might not do that. So I'm starting out with the black backdrop, and in front of it I have this curtain that I draped from a boom arm. And here comes my first light. It has the Fresnel attachment on it with barn doors, and it's shining right towards the curtain. And here comes the first thing that I was not expecting. I really needed a blackout curtain because otherwise light would actually shine through it. Next up, inside this octobox, I have a light that's gridded so it won't spill everywhere, but will provide some nice even light across my face. And over here, right next to the camera, I have one more light that's bouncing into the room to provide the fill light. I'll explain why I didn't use a bounce board or a VF light in just a second. And finally, behind the curtain, I have one more LED strip that's going to provide that nice edge light on the back of the head. And this is what the camera sees with all the lights in place. Of course, there are a few discrepancies, and I'm going to try and address them one by one. First of all, why am I using barn doors on my first light if in the original photo you can clearly see a light flare? Well, this is a pretty old lens, and if you shine light directly into it, it's gonna flare, and flaring will reduce the optical quality of the photo, basically giving me blurry edges. You know, the edges where I'm posing and my face is gonna look all blurry. Well, yeah, I don't want light coming directly into the lens. And of course, I took a ton of photos before realizing this. So that's lesson number 2. So instead of using a flare, I powered up the old smoke machine. This will create some highlight and give the light something to propagate to and show on camera. And with it, I got some nice looking light streaks in the photo. And to pair up with it, I'm using the blue streak filter from KNF to add one more bluish looking light ray into the photo. Now, why did I add light number 3 when I was planning to use a bounce board? What I noticed in the original image is that light number 1 is casting a bit of a warmer tone into the photo, and the entire photo is rather cold. So to replicate this, my camera was set to 5000 Kelvin. My main light over here was also set at 5000 Kelvin, but my edge light and my hair light that I had over here were both set to around 4000 Kelvin. This provided a bit of a warmer tone on the background, casting towards the front, and if instead of a third light I would have used a bounce board over here, I would have this light bouncing back into the scene, casting warm light into the shadows. So instead, I opted for a third light that's at 6500 Kelvin. This way, I'm basically doing split toning in camera, and my shadows will be colder and my highlights will be a bit warmer. Of course, with the exception of the blue streak, their color is generated by the filter, so I'm gonna get more color contrast on that tiny part of the image just because of the filter. And I think it's about time to show you what I ended up with. Here is the inspiration image once again, and here are some of my final images. And you know, I just had to play around with the colors in my lights and the edit, so I got a few different shots, and the truth is, I like them all. I liked the journey, I learned a few things along the way, and I hope you did as well. If you did, please drop a like and a subscribe, and maybe check out the store where I'll sell Lightroom presets, or how I like to call them, Lightroom tools, because they're not exactly the one-click preset you're used to. See you in the next video.